do you live here? And I was like, yeah, this is my house. He's like, can you step outside, please? And I was like, yeah, totally. He's like, everybody step out of the house. And my kid's getting real freaked out and shit, because as soon as we step out, there are two other cops. Every cop has their hand right on their fucking head where their gun is and shit. And I'm like, I'm getting arrested for smoking weed and talking about it on Smodcast, you know? I was like, it's gotta be and shit. And the guy's just like, he moves us away from Harley, and Harley starts crying. She's like, she's freaked out. 2 cops, 3 cops standing there with their hands on guns and shit right outside her front door, telling her father to move over here. And the cop's going over to her because she's upset. And he's like, what's the matter, hon? Do you want to talk to me? Do you want to tell me something? Let me pull you away from these people. And I'm like, that's my kid. I'm her father and stuff. They're like, I'm sure you are. And I'm like, good God, man. I go to the one cop, what is going on here? Because it felt Kafka-esque at this point, man. It felt like, what the fuck? Why am I being dragged out of my house? And the cop goes, we got a call, an emergency call for help. And a hostage situation came from inside the house. And I said, I turned to the fucking kids. I was like, did you motherfuckers call the cops? Which one of you called the fucking cops? This shit ain't funny. And they're like, they were so cool. They're like, we didn't do it, man. I swear to God. I would tell you if we were fucking, we did not call the cops. And I was like, all right. And I was like, Jen, did you call the cops? She's like, no. I was like, officer, these kids just came home from the fucking movies. I just came home from Baja Fresh, as you can see. I said, I don't know who would have made that call. Nobody else can make that call. And from inside the house, nobody else is here. And then one of the other officers goes, it didn't come from inside the house. It came from outside the house. And I was like, what? And he goes, somebody was walking down the hill and heard some screaming coming from inside the house. Somebody was calling for help, and they called the cops, and we're here. And I said, are you guys looking for the Gecko Brothers by any chance? And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I was like, officer, I've got a 103-inch television upstairs, and me and the wife, I swear to God, we're just watching the opening from Dusk Till Dawn, and that is a hostage situation and shit. And the cop, who's like a higher-up cop, is looking at me, and he fucking looks at his guys, he's like, is that true? And his guy's like, yeah, it's the best part of the movie, boss. So at this point, we're standing on the curb of the house, and I was like, officer, I swear it was a TV, man. You can go up and look at the TV. It's crazy how loud it is. But we're standing out here. My neighbors are now coming out of their houses and going, I knew it. Cops are, 3 cop cars, 2 at the top of the hill, 1 at the bottom and shit. We now have 6 policemen surrounding us. All doing the right thing, never once abusive, all just like, hey man, this is procedure. We have to go in and check your house, make sure it's clear. Because the idea, and like the reason they kept pulling Harley to the side is because there could be somebody right behind the door with a fucking gun, you know, going like, play it cool or else I'm gonna kill whoever else is in the fucking house and shit. So the dude's doing what he should be doing, but my crying kid is really like sending him off the charts and shit like that. So I was like, officer, I know this is weird to ask, but it is my house. Can we please just go in the foyer? Because now my neighbors are looking and cars are coming by and shit. My kid's like visibly upset. He's like, yeah, I think we can move inside, but nobody go too far because we have to go in and clear the rest of the house. So we move inside the house, and if you walk into my foyer, on the wall behind, to the right of the front door really, is a giant 8-foot by 6-foot painting of my kid, Harley, when she was about 3-4 years old. Gigantic fucking portrait. Looks like a photograph and shit. So we move into the foyer and we're standing beneath this painting. And the fucking kid is just crying her eyes out. And the cop comes over and he goes, what's the matter, baby? Do you live here or not? And I was like, yeah, she lives here, officer. She lives here. He's like, I know she lives here. And I was just like, how do you know? Because of the giant picture behind us? And he looked up and he's like, oh, that is you. He's like, is that you? And she's like, that's me. And he was just like, okay. And I was like, shit, I need a giant picture of myself. And there was nothing because I'm kind of like modest at home. I don't like to hang up Jane Silent Bob shit and all the movie shit. So there's nothing, no evidence of me in the foyer. Giant picture of Harley. I'm looking all over. Tiny ass fucking picture of me, like looking really fat on the bookshelf that's right across from the front stairs. Very small and shit. And I was like, officer, I swear I'm in that picture. You can look at that picture right there and shit. And so he went over and looked at the picture. Meanwhile, there's another cop ascending my stairs to go clear the house to make sure there's nobody holding anybody else hostage. But if he continues up the stairs, I'm sitting there going, shit, man, did I leave weed out on my desk? Because like this cop's going in there to protect me, to pull some potential harmful individual out of my house. But at the same time, I'm like, shit, I don't want him to see if I have any weed out and shit like that. And I'm sitting there going, what would they do in Law and Order at this point? And I'm about ready to make a deal. No prosecutors, but I'm like, hey man, I'm ready to make a deal. You can just take me away and shit like that. But then the officer in charge was just like, you know what? I think it's a false alarm. I think it's okay. You're saying it was the TV? I was like, oh, I promise you it's the TV. He's like, all right, we're sorry to bother you. We're just glad that we nothing's happening here. You understand what we got. I said, dude, you never have to apologize for the fucking skillful service that you guys came here. My kid's terrified. Don't worry about it. You know, she's a pussy anyway. You just go about your day. Thank you so much. We feel safe, protected, and shit like that. Thanks. And they left, closed the door and shit. And my wife was just like, woo. And I was like, well, anyway, that's Michael Parks from Dusk Till Dawn. He's going to be in Red State and shit like that.
Thanks, Kev.
Thank you. I wasn't done, but all right, thanks. Oh, we're good. Thanks. I'm wrapping up. Good talking to you. Thank you. Hey, man, how are you?
What's going on, Kevin?
Not much.
Well, I have a quick question for you. I'm curious of your views on the legalization of marijuana and Prop 19, and also your favorite strain?
Right now, my favorite strain of City of Angels is really, really strong and kind of robust and romantic. And what was the first one? Do I believe in legalization? Absolutely, man. Like during that fucking Too Fat to Fly thing with Southwest Air, at the tail end of it, my publicist called me and he was just like, the governor called you. And I was like, the governor? And he was like, yeah. I was like, fucking Schwarzenegger is calling? He said, Schwarzenegger wants to talk to you. And I was like, all right, man. And I didn't call him back because I didn't believe it at first and shit. Next day, I got another call, and he was just like, hey, you got to call the governor, man. His office called back, and they seemed kind of pissed that you didn't call. I was like, that shit's serious? He's like, yeah, call. Here's the number. I called, and some dude was just like, he's not here, but I'll have him call you right back and shit. 10 minutes later, the phone rings, and I was like, hello? It was like, Kevin, this is the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was mind-bending, dude, because it was fucking him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that voice I've known my whole fucking life and shit like that. And people can do it. It's easily imitatable. But that was hands down Arnold Schwarzenegger on the other end of the phone. I was like, hey, man, oh, my God, I'm a huge fan. He's like, thank you, Kevin. I wanted to talk to you about what happened with the Southwest. I saw something in the newspaper about it, and we were going to be having a summit on obesity, but it was yesterday, and you missed it, but that's why I was calling. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. I said, but you know what, man? It wasn't real. I don't know that I would have been into that kind of thing. I'm not really standing up and championing obesity. I'm just, everyone should be the size they want to be. I just kind of got fucked on a corporate level. You know, it wasn't really a big movement or any sort. I was just like, once again, another customer gets fucked over by a corporation. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing. And then I went into the story, told him the whole story and shit, and I was like, but don't worry, man. It's all in the past. Now I'm good. And he's dead quiet for a second. He goes, yes, well, like I said, the thing was yesterday. So I was like, all right, man, all right. And he was just like, well, good luck with the opening of your movie and stuff like that. I said, thanks. I said, Gov, man, can I fucking talk to you before you go real quick, just a California thing? And I said, a little bit of California advice? And he goes, please. And I said, before you leave office, be the one that legalizes weed, man. You'll be a bigger hero than Conan. And he was like, I will take it under advisement. And he fucking hung up the phone, man. He was out of my life. And as soon as I hung up, I was like, God damn it, why didn't I go like, hey, man, what is best in life? Just that he would have been like, what the fucking you think is best in life, you know? Just crush your enemies. See him chewing before you hear the lamentation of the women. But I didn't have the foresight but I did ask him about weed, and I'm sure like everybody who asks him about weed, he's like, yeah, whatever. But he did say he would try.
Thanks, Kevin, and tell Mosier he makes Smodcast.
I will, man. Thank you. I mean, Indica.
Yeah!